Hello, students of Winchester Community High School, and welcome to this video of me talking about vocab for World War II. I'm coming to you live from my apartment. So anyway, you probably found the vocab sheet wherever you found the link to this video. Yes, I am now a famous YouTuber when it comes to making very interesting world videos about history. So what you should do while I'm going through this and talking about World War II is fill out the vocab and then submit the vocab when you are done, so that I can give you points for it and all that fun stuff. While I would love to ramble about World War II for hours, because it is the big one, I will try to make this kind of as quick and to the point as I can. So first things first, World War II really starts with World War I. World War I ends with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. And at the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, all of these people, all the major world leaders on the winning side, on the Allied side, decided to just blame Germany for everything. Germany had to take full blame for all of World War I. They had to sign a blank check where they had to repay all the other countries' war debts. They got lots of different pieces of land taken from them. One you may have heard of is the Rhineland. They were not allowed to make a large military at all, and there were a few other sanctions put on the country. Now, Germany had very little say in any of this. They were just kind of forced to take it. So this cartoon from the time kind of shows it. That guy is Germany. He's being forced by all of these other leaders, including Woodrow Wilson, America's leader, to take these peace terms. You gotta swallow it, or whether you like it or not. And that's very much how Germany felt about it. They felt that this was unfair, that they shouldn't have to pay other countries' war debts, that their punishment was too tough, and that definitely they did not deserve all of the blame. But nevertheless, they got it. History keeps moving. So, what happens is this guy named Adolf Hitler joins and gets going a political party, and we know that political party as the Nazi Party. It is very, very important that you understand this concept, that the Nazism was a political party. We in America have political parties. You might call them Democrats or Republicans are the big ones. Green Party, Libertarian. We have political parties. The Nazis were a political party that in the German government tried to win seats in their government. In the same way that Republicans tried to win senator seats, Democrats try to win seats in the House, the presidency. That is the same thing the Nazi Party wanted to do. Their leader does quickly become this guy, Adolf Hitler. And yes, these are the only real pictures of Hitler I like to use. Because why would you choose a picture of him looking powerful when you can choose pictures of him in lederhosen leaning against trees? Yeah. It's not bullying if the person killed 12 million people. True. Anyway, Hitler becomes the leader of the Nazi Party. Completely, for the most part, legally. He is elected to head of the Reichstag. He will try to, at first, and will fail, trying to take over the German government by force. We call it the beer hall putsch. And he basically at a beer hall gets his friends together and tries to take over the German government. It doesn't work and he gets arrested. While he's in jail, he writes a very, very famous book. It's called Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf means my struggle. Hitler was a World War I vet. And after his failed uprising and after he gets out of jail, he realizes that if he's going to take over the German government, he has to do it legally. So him and the Nazi Party continue to run and gain more and more seats. And they have a few major messages that they're sending to the German people. The first one is this notion of creating Germany as being the Aryan race. This is the idea that blonde-haired, blue-eyed people are better than anyone else. That they are superior, smarter, cleaner, whatever words they want to use, that they're altogether better. We call it the Aryan race. Hitler wanted to create an Aryan race. And you may have noticed on this picture, Hitler doesn't really have blonde hair. It's kind of a sensitive subject he never really talks about. He does have blue eyes, though. The other issue that Hitler and the Nazi Party really push is this idea of living space, that Germany was too small, that they needed more room for what they called the blood and soil movement, that Germans needed to be able to spread out, that they needed to have their own farms, and be able to breed more and more blonde-haired, blue-eyed Germans for the superior world master race. But that required more space. However, living in lots of these countries he wanted to take over, and in Germany itself, were several Jewish people. Hitler and the Nazis are going to run on what's called anti-Semitism. This is the idea of hating Jewish people. It's a deep prejudice against Jewish people. I cannot give you a good reason for it. In my personal opinion, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. The closest you can usually get to a quote-unquote reason would be the notion that the Jews killed Jesus, which isn't true. The Romans killed Jesus. So the Jews get used as a scapegoat throughout history, and it really doesn't make sense, but Hitler uses it. He blames Jewish people for the reason Germany loses World War I, and he uses World War I as a reason to later do the Holocaust. This video is not about the Holocaust. Alrighty, couple other dictators here. Now, a dictator is somebody who has full control over the government of a country. Hitler was a dictator. Eventually, he's going to be able to name himself Führer, supreme leader of Germany, after democratically getting elected to being chancellor. This guy is Benito Mussolini. He's an Italian fascist dictator. A lot of words there, but he's going to lead Italy right before and at the start of World War II. He's going to be a fascist, which basically relies heavily on controlling the press, on always showing the country in a good light and a good light only, as having extreme nationalism and patriotism. So he would, him and Hitler, both would try to push this idea that their countries were the best, that they could do no wrong, that they were better than everyone else, and that other groups are the cause of their problems. So fascism relies on a scapegoat. It relies on there to be a common enemy of the people. So this is Benito Mussolini. Now you should probably recognize this this picture of Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin is the leader of the Soviet Union. Before, during, and long after World War II, he is a communist. During World War I, the USSR becomes a communist country, and he leads it as a communist dictator. Now, he makes this story interesting. And yes, basically old memes. Hitler and Stalin are going to have kind of sort of a bromance going here for a minute. We call it the non-aggression pact. These two absolutely hate each other. Okay? Fascism and communism are on the complete opposite ends of the political spectrum. It may seem like they have a lot in common, but basically being dictators is a lot where it kind of ends. And what they're going to do is they both want to invade Poland. And Poland separates the two of them. So they create this non-aggression pact, hoping that they won't go to war with each other, but will help each other gain land in Poland and a few other places. However, they don't like each other. They don't trust each other. So when this non-aggression pact is happening, people who make comics had a fun day. This one's my favorite. It has them getting married, saying, "Wonder how long the honeymoon will last." Ah, not long. And then you have this one of them walking side by side through the flowers with guns pointed at each other. Nothing says trust like that. Wow. So this non-aggression pact will last for a little while, but will fail pretty quickly because Hitler's going to try to take over the USSR. Now, I get the question a lot. How does Hitler get away with so much? Because he's going to be able to break just about every rule that was set at the Treaty of Versailles. He says it himself that he's going to rip up piece by piece every bit of the Treaty of Versailles. And how he does this is because the rest of the world just appeased him. Appeasement. Appeasement is this idea that you just let someone be, you don't enforce the rules or the law, you don't get them in trouble, you don't go to war in order or so that you hope there's peace. So you don't hold the person accountable, hoping that it will bring peace in the long term. So you have all these different rulers and leaders across Europe who let Hitler build an army, let him send soldiers to the Rhineland, let him invade several different countries, all unchecked because they're appeasing him and they're just kind of letting him get away with it. All right, this war's going to be broken down into the Allied powers and the Axis powers. Yes, there were other countries in both of these groups. However, this is what we're going to work with. So the Allied powers include the United Kingdom, which is Great Britain, the United States. After a while, we do not get into this war immediately. France and the Soviet Union. The other powers here, the Axis powers, are Germany or the Third Reich, Italy, and Imperial Japan. Okay, so these are the two powers with it. I had a picture, didn't work. All right, so the first thing here, there's going to be several fronts to this war. The first front is known as the Western Front. And this is primarily going to be fought in France and the United Kingdom. So the Western Front is primarily going to be fought there, very similar to the Western Front during World War I. The Eastern Front is primarily going to be fought between the Soviet Union and Germany in the Soviet Union. The most bloody battles of this war will occur there. So the Battle of Stalingrad or Leningrad will happen there, and it will turn into an all-out massacre in winter. The other, what we call theater, is the Pacific Theater. And this is where Japan gets more and more involved. Japan is going to bomb the United States on Pearl Harbor, and that will get the United States into the war. However, we don't have, at the time, we didn't have bombers that could get all the way from Hawaii to Japan. So we had to fight on all of these different little islands in order to get closer to the Japanese mainland in order to actually fight there. So things like the Marshall Islands, Iwo Jima, Midway are all kind of major battles you may have heard of that were mainly to get closer to Japan. This was known as island hopping and was used so that we could get a bomber all the way to the Japanese mainland. So this was another theater of the war. The fourth place this war was being fought was actually in Africa. So Northern Africa was used frequently as a place to fight, and several United States troops will actually be deployed to North Africa when the United States gets into the war, and will then work up through Italy and the rest of Europe from there. So they primarily fought in the desert of North Africa. Sahara Desert's just north of, or just south of there, to work up. So again, you have four main places this war is being fought. You have it kind of in northern France and then by Great Britain. You have it in Africa, you have it in the Pacific Theater, and then you have it in the Eastern Front or in Russia as well. Now, why the Western Front is more known to Americans is it's because it's where the D-Day landing happened. D-Day. And this was a major assault in the beaches of Normandy. It was a joint mission by the United States, Great Britain, and Canada. All had troops sent there that day. General Eisenhower was in charge of it. There was a lot of work done so that this was secret and that the Germans and Japanese Axis powers didn't know when or where exactly this landing was going to happen. There's several parts to this landing as well. One of them, planes flew over the land and dropped soldiers beyond this line. They're known as paratroopers. So, for instance, here you have the 6th Airborne Division, the 82nd Airborne Division, and they're dropped behind the Axis-powered lines. You then also have the attack from sea. So they're going to land at these different beaches. So Omaha Beach is kind of the most famous one. And they are going to have to fight up the beaches to take them over. The D-Day landing is successful. However, it will come with heavy casualties. This boat is known as a Higgins boat. It was made in Louisiana specifically for this. They're going to go to great lengths, the Axis powers, to make this landing very difficult. Now, it is rated R. I can't say, hey, everyone, we're definitely going to watch this. But something I suggest all of you do is to watch the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's a really good movie, so that you definitely are going to want to watch that. Again, the movie is Saving Private Ryan. I think my microphone cut out there for a second. Saving Private Ryan. It really shows how this D-Day landing looked. So again, here are the paratroopers. So you have airplanes and then just jumping out of planes and landing. All right, the next battle we're going to talk about here is the Battle of the Bulge. Once America gets into this war, once Great Britain is able to stay strong and fight off the German Luftwaffe at the Battle of Britain, Hitler's losing, and Hitler knows it. And he's going to send out one last-ditch effort, and this is the Battle of the Bulge. And he just tells all of his soldiers, all of his troops, go until you can't. We're gonna fight and die trying. And they do work for a little bit, but it's in the winter. Things move slowly, and they eventually run out of steam with the Battle of the Bulge, and the Allies are beginning to take over Germany as well. So this is actually a picture from Dresden, Germany at the end of the war. Hitler and his girlfriend, wife, kind of disputed person, Eva Braun, will commit suicide in their bunker with cyanide tablets. So he will not be held responsible for any atrocities he does. We'll talk more about the atrocities later. So the Eastern Front and Western Front and the African fighting ends when Hitler surrenders, when the Nazis surrender and he commits suicide. However, the Pacific Theater is still fighting. And what we had going on was something called the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was working on creating 2 atomic bombs. And they did it. They're able to make them. We know them as the Little Boy and the Fat Man. The Little Boy will be dropped on Hiroshima in Japan, and the Fat Man will be dropped on Nagasaki. By this time, FDR's going to die, and this decision will actually be made by Harry Truman. Harry Truman was in the trenches during World War I. He saw how terrible that got. He saw the trench foot and everything else. He saw how awful World War I is, and he makes the decisions to drop these 2 bombs, which look like that, onto Japan. And after the second bomb is dropped, Japan is going to surrender as well, and the war is officially over. Alrighty, I think that should help you with the vocab. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.